Hi everybody, for this assignment you're going to use the clues below to help you unscramble these words related to the impact of World War II on America. And if you're uncertain, which you may very well be, as to what these words are, you will find them in the reading right here. And I'm going to read that out loud for kids that want to listen to it, but you can go back here and find the answers. For this one right here, I can help with this one real fast. Blank blank was the U.S. naval base attacked by Japan, and that is Pearl Harbor. And so you will use the reading to answer the rest of those. Right now I'm going to go ahead and read this out loud and follow along if you want. You can also go to the PDF file that I have uploaded if you don't want to listen to me read this, and just look at it yourself, maybe print it off if you want to highlight it as you read, and then but still write your answers on the document here in Google Docs. So the impact of World War II on America. The Japanese attacked the American naval base at Pearl Harbor on the Hawaiian island of Oahu on December 7, 1941. The United States declared war on Japan the next day. The United States also declared war on Germany and Italy on December 11, 1941. President Franklin D. Roosevelt told Americans in early 1942 that everyone on the home front would need to pitch in for the war effort. He asked Americans to build 60,000 planes, 45,000 tanks, and 20,000 anti-aircraft guns within the next year. Even though these were staggering goals, they were met. Almost all industry in America was converted to some form of war production. Equipment, clothing, food, and fuel for the U.S. military and its allies were considered of highest priority. Americans were asked to use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. The Office of Price Administration held down inflation by setting wages, regulating rent, and setting prices for basic goods and services. To keep any consumer from buying more than he needed, ration books were issued beginning the spring of 1942. Among items rationed during the war were meat, shoes, sugar, cheese, and gasoline. While these measures were unpopular, Americans pulled together to make sure resources went to the war effort. Even children helped gather rubber, metal, and other scrap materials to be used for military equipment. During World War II, the government bought much of the food grown on farms to send to the troops overseas. To provide fresh produce for their families, Americans planted gardens in whatever space they had. Gardens were created in backyards, along roads and railways, in parks, on rooftops, in window boxes, and in schoolyards. These gardens were called victory gardens because the people hoped by growing their own vegetables they were helping to win the war. American fashions also changed during the war. A majority of the material produced went to provide millions of uniforms for men and women in the armed forces. New fashions were created that made the most of less material. Hems on girls' skirts were let down as many times as possible. The straps on girls' jumpers were also made extra long to provide a little length for the skirt. Since silk and nylon were needed to make parachutes, ladies' stockings were no longer available. Women applied makeup to their legs to make it appear they were wearing stockings. Girls started to wear bobby socks instead of tights. The increased war production provided new job opportunities for many groups. Women took jobs that had always been labeled men's work. Rosie the Riveter became a nickname for any woman working in the defense industry. African Americans and other minorities found that the shortage of workers finally made it possible for them to be employed in these factory jobs. Older people also rejoined the workforce. Some office workers worked an 8-hour day at the office and then worked a half shift at a defense factory. Children were also affected by the war. In addition to missing their fathers who were gone fighting the war, children saw less of their mothers who were now working outside the home. Older relatives were often put in charge of watching children. Young people were encouraged to participate in the war effort in many ways. They collected rubber, metal, and other items in scrap drives. They rolled bandages and knitted mittens, scarves and socks for soldiers. They sent letters and presents to patients in war hospitals. And they collected milkweed fluff to fill life jackets. Everyone did their part to win the war.